The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
I think Matthew Tkachuk and Quinn Hughes would be the perfect teammates because I think Barkov is like Quinn Hughes. And Jonathan Toews to the Canucks, probably?
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Are you serious, Kyle? Well, I'm serious. We're about to get started here on Locked On Canucks. Welcome to another episode. I'm Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks and also a Canucks writer currently with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into it, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks because it is your Canucks every damn day. We're not here without you listening, and we're also not here without those sponsors, baby. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Jonathan Toews, a.k.a. Captain Serious, a.k.a. the guy that called out the Canucks back in 2011 when the Canucks had a 3-0 lead on the Chicago Blackhawks. A storied captain, also a guy who's been out of the NHL for 2 years, who was looking to get back into the NHL. Well, guess what? The Vancouver Canucks have a desperate need for centermen. Are they desperate enough to sign a 37-year-old Jonathan Toews? Let's get into that discussion here on Locked On Canucks. Kyle also wants to dive back into the time machine and talk about what if the Canucks drafted Matthew Tkachuk? Where would they be right now? And finally, of course, we'll talk about those Abbotsford Canucks who are set to take on the Texas Stars, Cole Lind and the Texas Stars in the conference finals, Western Conference Finals of the AHL playoffs. Before we do all that, let me introduce my co-host. This guy once hated Jonathan Toews. Now he's all about Jonathan Toews. Kyle Bowen, how's it going, brother?
I'm not all about it. I'm just curious, like how the Canucks going to do this, and that's like just get a center. And is there a way to bring like Jonathan Toews in to like motivate Elias Pettersson? Because maybe Elias Pettersson has a problem understanding serious American, but if it's serious Canadian, he can understand it. I don't know. Dude, it's just some of the news, man. The options, man. The options. If it's not via trade, is it Jonathan Toews, man? Again, I don't think so. But an interesting storyline nonetheless. And I wonder. I thought this guy was gone. I didn't know this guy was ever going to play the game again. But apparently, Jonathan Toews is eyeing a comeback, and you just never know. I mean, it's crazy to make this comparison, but is there like some Sean Monahan and Jonathan Toews? Like, remember how like a couple years ago, Sean Monahan, he's like an expendable piece. He's a cap dump and his career is over and he's not the fastest player, but Sean Monahan's still good. Like, he's still good. How did he do it? How is he still like a 50, 60 point guy? This guy's a coveted second line center. Like, the Winnipeg Jets gave up a lot to get him last year. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I think that like a lot of us are possibly thinking Toews is done, but maybe he could still be a 50, 60 point guy and just add depth to a team down the middle.
Yeah, I think the difference between Sean Monahan and Jonathan Toews, and Kyle, I like that you're smoking that West Coast bias. Like, you're feeling like Jonathan Toews could come in here and maybe do Sean Monahan-like things. The main difference is Sean Monahan, at the time he was traded from the Calgary Flames to the Montreal Canadiens, was 27 years old. Jonathan Toews is right now 37 years old, has not played in the NHL in 2 years. And even for the 2 years before he, exited the NHL, dealing with some long COVID, and the guy was obviously on some trips in India and doing some soul searching.
No way,
all
what?
that stuff.
He's in India. Jonathan Toews is in India right now.
He was in India. There was a blog about him. He was doing interviews. He went traveling. I want to say he went on a shaman retreat. I can't remember the exact story, but he was doing some traveling over there. I think he was looking for some naturopathic healing methods to deal with some of the injuries he suffered post-playing career, some of the effects of long COVID, all of that stuff. Maybe he can bring that good juju to the Canucks locker room, because man, oh man, I mean, that I think is the number one reason to bring Jonathan Toews onto this team, Kyle, is, obviously talk about the leadership abilities. The guy's nicknamed Captain Serious for a reason. And maybe he can bring some good vibes to the Canucks locker room. I mean, it's interesting. We were talking about Phil Kessel being the vibes guy last season, and man, oh man, could Phil Kessel have saved this Canucks core if they brought him in last season? That was one of the wilder theories you brought up here on Locked On Canucks, but I buy it.
Who would you rather have? What's the worst decision? The Canucks drafting Oli Levy instead of Matthew Tkachuk, or letting Phil Kessel walk?
That's a tough one. We'll find out here on the other side on Locked On Canucks. But yeah, Jonathan Toews, I mean, look, you bring him in for his leadership abilities. Maybe he can light a fire under Elias Pettersson. But if you're expecting Jonathan Toews to be anything more than a fourth line center, I think you're in trouble.
Holy, dude, just doubting the guy. Over. You screwed up, buddy. There's no point in you going to India and smoking ayahuasca. What's he doing? Is he whatever he's doing in India? It didn't work. Because what, Trevor? You can't get medicated and you can't rehab in India. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're trying to say, Trevor?
I'm not saying anything about that, man. Oh man, Kyle.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's Jonathan Toews, the fourth line center. Genuinely speaking, again, you're probably right. And no, and yeah, like injuries aside, rehab aside, long COVID aside, the game's just so different. Like, seriously speaking, Trevor, in the 2 years that Jonathan Toews missed, you could argue that, again, the game's just elevated. The game's quicker. I mean, ask Elias Pettersson. Right?
Yeah, I actually thought a bit about Elias Pettersson when you brought up Sean Monahan there, because, obviously Elias Pettersson hit much greater heights than Sean Monahan. But Sean Monahan did have 34 goals and 82 points in 2018-19, and then kind of slowly trended downwards before, of course, being, bouncing from Montreal to Winnipeg to Columbus. Again, I do worry about the Elias Pettersson bounce back in another market if he's not with the Vancouver Canucks. But you do hope that Elias Pettersson, he figures it out. And is Jonathan Toews that guy to help him figure it out? I mean, maybe, but I don't know if it's worth the Canucks investing assets in Jonathan Toews to get him here. And Kyle, the reason I'm hating on Jonathan Toews is
it's just money. It's just money, isn't it? It's just got a free agent
and a roster spot, right? You're going to take away a roster spot from Teddy Bluger, who's been a serviceable fourth line center. You're going to take away a roster spot from Atu Ratu, who I think deserves to be in the NHL next season. I mean, those are the guys looking for fourth line center spots, right? I would probably have either of those guys over Jonathan Toews. And look, Jonathan Toews' last two seasons before leaving the NHL, I mean, in 2021-22, he had 12 goals and 37 points in 71 games. In 22-23, he had 31 points in 53 games. That's a 44-point pace. He was a minus 31 that season. Jonathan Toews was not good in his last 2 years in the NHL. And of course, it was a Chicago franchise trending downwards. The glory days, they were done. But I just don't see Jonathan Toews coming back in here and making a massive impact. And honestly, I would be pretty surprised if he doesn't go to the Winnipeg Jets. That's a team that's in contention. He's from Winnipeg. It makes sense. But we'll see. We'll see where Jonathan Toews decides. But I don't think it's the right decision for the Vancouver Canucks, and I'd be shocked if he signs here.
How about the whole again, Canadian captain series thing versus the American assistant captain series thing? Like the JT Miller experiment didn't work with Pettersson. Does like bring in a guy like Toews, I don't know, like just make the leadership department in that team like get to a point where some of the country club things disappear? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, is there any chance of that?
Well, I think the main difference between Toews and Miller, aside from Miller just being a pretty aggressive personality, is the fact that, JT Miller hasn't really won anything, right? At least Jonathan Toews has won in the past, right? So, I think Jonathan Toews has more experience in terms of winning, knowing what it takes to win, and actually getting across the finish line. Whereas, and I don't think he would do it with the same approach as JT Miller. So from that aspect, I think there is value in Jonathan Toews in terms of his leadership abilities, what he's gone through. It's just the on-ice abilities are a bit of a concern. And look, I mean, I still, if this team, brought Phil Kessel in and didn't want to sign him, I'm not sure if they're going to do the same with Jonathan Toews. But again, we'll see how it shakes out. I mean, hey, maybe Jonathan Toews should have taken Pettersson over to India, man. Little retreat.
There you go, man.
To figure himself out.
There you go.
That would have been the most valuable thing, I think.
Yeah. Well, I guess we just got to put a bow on this part of the conversation, and that's totally fine. But do you just want to elaborate a bit more on again, like the game over the last couple of years, the NHL in general, and I don't know if it was Talkit alluding to this or somebody else, but the statement surrounding how the game got quicker over the last 2 years, like that's the truth. Like I'm gonna say significantly quicker now. I don't know if it's just because the way the game's being played, or Florida winning all the time and them kind of playing a certain way, or the McDavid factor. I don't know, but is it wrong for me to say that the game got quicker and harder to play? Like you better be improving your skating summer in and summer out, or else you're gonna get left behind.
Well, to be honest, I think it's not a crazy take at all. And my take on it, and it hasn't really been discussed in hockey circles to my knowledge, is of course we know that forwards have gotten faster, they've gotten more creative. These guys are working on skills from like 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, right? Like it's a different game offensively. But honestly, I think a big reason why the game has sped up so much over the past 2 years is that defenses have become a lot more mobile, right? Of course, Quinn Hughes is the crown jewel, but like look across the NHL, like look at guys like Thomas Harley and Miro Heiskanen. Look at guys like Evan Bouchard. Look at Gustav Forsling. Like Aaron Ekblad can move, right? You don't have these big hulking demon for the most part in terms of like legitimate Stanley Cup contenders anymore. Carolina, incredibly mobile blue line. Jacob Slavin can really skate. Gostisbehere, Walker. I mean, across the NHL, blue liners can move. They can move the puck up the ice quicker, and that's added to the speed of the game as well. And I think they can move across the ice in their own zone and defend a bit better. I think that's actually a reason why we're seeing less shots on goal in today's NHL as well.
Yeah, it's just it's one of those things, man. The game's in a good place, and that's probably not a good thing for Jonathan Toews' comeback. And let's be real, like, he's probably, we're like, oh, maybe the Canucks need his leadership and they're gonna evaluate it, and that's why they're going to take a swing, blah, blah, blah. But you could say the same about the Anaheim Ducks, and it probably makes more sense for him to go to Anaheim. No, for real, dude. Like,
man, oh man.
the Quimble Toews thing, like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? I would not be surprised if he's an Anaheim Duck. Like, coming out of retirement, coming from India, and then, like, playing hockey in Anaheim. It's not Florida, but yeah. I could definitely see that be the case.
It makes too much sense, man. It makes a little more sense than the Canucks drafting Olli Juolevi over Matthew Tkachuk. Let's get into that on the other side. Where would the Canucks have been if they drafted Matthew Tkachuk? And let's get to our preview of the Abbotsford Canucks taking on the Texas Stars in the Western Conference Final. That's coming up here on Locked On Canucks. Oh, before we get back into it, baby, we got to shout out our friends over at FanDuel, okay? You know that if you're betting on sports, FanDuel is the place you got to be, okay? The NBA playoffs are in full swing, so are the NHL playoffs. Man, oh man, the OKC Thunder, holy smokes, man. And we're even more dominant than the Florida Panthers. But whether you're betting on NBA or NHL, make sure you place those bets on FanDuel. Of course, tonight, the Stanley Cup Final could be decided as Game 5 between Edmonton and the Dallas Stars. Edmonton is our underdogs on the money line. Can they clean this up in 5 games? They've been the better team in almost every game in this series. But on FanDuel right now, you can even bet on a hypothetical Stanley Cup final between the Oilers and the Panthers. And guess what? The Panthers, they are the favorite. So whatever bet you place, again, make sure you do it on FanDuel. It's the perfect time to sign up, baby. Head over to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets.
Wow. People, we back doing this, and that's talking about some random stuff about your Vancouver Canucks, because it's late May, and bro, we're addicted to the Canucks, and so are you. So let's get to some of your comments. Now, Cetos is saying, sign Jonathan Toews to be the third line faceoff guy, Malhotra style, and then Cetos also asking, like, it depends what Jonathan Toews would sign for. I mean, if you went to India, did the ayahuasca thing, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know, I don't know, became a Hindu god. I don't know. I don't know what he was doing there, but Sikhism, like, there's a lot of power in India, like a lot of wisdom out there. Who knows? But I'm guessing if he did it the right way, money's not a problem. He's willing to sign for $750K.
Yeah, it's going to be a league minimum contract. I mean, Jonathan Toews has made enough money throughout his NHL career. What was it? The 8-year, $10.5 million deal that he was on with the Chicago Blackhawks before it expired. Yeah, I was reading a bit more about the treatment in India. It was a 5-week detox, an Ayurvedic detox, which included enduring induced vomiting and daily enemas in an effort to get his mind and body back on track. So, man, oh man, this wasn't so much an ayahuasca discover yourself as it was a hardcore detox to cleanse the body. I'm not quite sure if he came in, it would cleanse the Canucks from all their bad juju from last season. So I'm taking a no on Jonathan Toews.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. What's also not going to happen is what should have happened, right? And yeah, I know. It's a stupid conversation to have, but let's have some fun here, okay? Because Matthew Tkachuk is going to his 3rd straight Stanley Cup final. And yeah, no, Matthew Tkachuk gets drafted by Calgary, not Vancouver. We pass up on him for Ole Ulevi. And what does Matthew Tkachuk do? He becomes a superstar ASAP. I'm pretty sure he made the NHL at 18 or 19. Like, I'm pretty sure he signed an entry-level deal right out of camp as like the 5th or 6th overall pick or whatever it was, and makes a legitimate impact. But yeah, ultimately leaves Canada to go to Florida to be in a less pressure-filled environment and ultimately succeed. And that's what he's doing, right? Blah, blah, blah. That being said, because I've done the math and I've done the studying, and I still believe that if Matthew Tkachuk was drafted by the Canucks and he makes the Canucks ASAP, the Canucks still suck for the next couple of years. I still believe that, and we still get Pettersson, we still get Hughes right after, right? And that's where my mind starts racing, because I feel as if Matthew Tkachuk and Quinn Hughes would have been the perfect partners in crime. Because, yeah, Barkov and Hughes play different positions, but that is why Florida's working too, because they got Tkachuk, but they got Barkov, like that stoic leader, that guy who's just exceptional, one of the best players in hockey. Again, just the most underrated player in the league. Dude, he's just spectacular. The fact that Barkov's gone to 3 straight Stanley Cup finals as the captain is like, yo, this guy's legitimately like the most quiet superstar in hockey history. That's what it's feeling like. All in all, though, something tells me that Matthew Tkachuk would have stuck around to play with Quinn Hughes. Like, he wouldn't have done the Calgary to Florida thing, because Quinn Hughes has those intangibles too. And some people say that Tkachuk left because he wanted to play in America, not in Canada. But dude, maybe he just knew in that dressing room in Calgary, they don't have dogs. They don't have another me. Bro, Pettersson's not that dog, but yo, Quinn Hughes is. And I think those two would have stuck together for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to know, right? I mean, you make the assumption that, the Canucks would still suck at Pettersson and Hughes. I mean, I think the Canucks were lucky that Hughes slid to 7, right? I mean, how much farther does he slide? Like let's say I think the Oilers picking right after the Canucks. No, It was Chicago with Adam Boquist, but the Oilers were like, what if the Oilers get Quinn Hughes, right? Like, there are so many other scenarios that are pretty dark in that assumption. But I mean, man, oh man, maybe I'm just a dark Canucks fan, but I'm thinking that, if Matthew Tkachuk comes to Vancouver, we still end up trading him for Jonathan Huberdeau, right? That's just Canucks luck for you right there, buddy. And then we have Huberdeau and Pettersson.
No.
That's not the fun scenario, but no, I see what you're saying, right? I mean, I do wonder, like, so many other things. Like, do the Canucks even make the JT Miller trade if they have Matthew Tkachuk in the fold, right? Does that not become a story for the Vancouver Canucks? But just based on Matthew Tkachuk's comments, him, wanting to be in the States, going down to Florida, still kind of chirping Canadian fans, even after he's already gone. I think he's always wanted to play in the States. That's my 2 cents on it. Maybe I'm wrong. Because I see the point you're making about him playing with Quinn Hughes potentially, right? And that being a pretty lethal combination. But yeah, just based on what we've seen from Matthew Tkachuk, I think he's probably always wanted to be in the States, and he's probably happy right where he is down in Sunrise, Florida. And the point you brought up, Kyle, about him, getting drafted 6th overall, he did jump right into the NHL the next season. 13 goals, 8 points in 76 games, 105 penalty minutes. He was an impact player right off the bat.
Dude, he's one of the best players in this generation. And he's been like a damaged good over the last 190 hockey games. Like, he's always hurt.
Yeah.
But he has that will and determination and that cerebralness and just an ultimate team guy. I mean, looking back at that draft, who was number 1 in 2016?
Matthews.
Matthews,
then Laine, then Dubois, then Puljujarvi, then Juolevi, then Tkachuk.
I mean, Matthew Tkachuk should have been the first overall pick.
Ooh, over Austin Matthews.
No, what are you talking about? This guy's a legitimate gamer, dude. Who cares about the damn regular season and all these goals, bro?
I love it. I love that take, bro. That's amazing.
Dude, he's a legend, man. And I see the way he talks to the media and how much of a good representation he is to the game, and again, how team focused he is. He's a smart dude, man. He's a smart dude. And again, I don't know what happened between him and Calgary. I don't know if he forced his way to Florida. I don't know what his situation was with the the trade and whatnot. But something does tell me like he wanted to play with like a Barkov, like a elite superstar, like somebody better than himself, because he wanted to win that bad, and he knew that like if he was the second best player on the team, like then the rest is history. For real. And again, he played in Calgary for a while. He had success in Calgary, a lot of regular season success, but it's different to play in the playoffs, man. It's so much different. It's just a different hockey game, bro. And he knew it. He saw the writing on the wall, with Gaudreau leaving and whatnot too. But still, if Gaudreau's leaving and whatnot, it's like there's still some good pieces there. But he probably knew that DNA of that team because he's so smart. He knows the game. Again, grew up in that hockey family. He knew like, yo, no matter what, we ain't getting ish done here. It's got to be somewhere else. And I mean, just to tally off of that and just keep it Canuck centric. This is why I want Drance on ASAP. Like, I want to ask him, like, does he see any similarities between Barkov and Quinn Hughes? Because sometimes I do. I'm not gonna lie, not based on play style, but body language.
Yeah, quiet leaders as well.
Yeah.
It's fascinating looking back at that 2016 draft. Again, Matthew Tkachuk, Austin Matthews, by far the most two prolific players from that draft. I mean, the third guy in terms of regular season points is Alex DeBrincat. It's easily those two. But yeah, Matthew Tkachuk over Austin Matthews. I'm here for that take all day long. I'm also here to talk about Abby Canucks, Kyle's favorite topic, and some of your comments on the other side here on Locked On Canucks.
We back doing this, and that's talking about the Abby Canucks. The Abby Canucks, really? I guess we have to do it. And honestly speaking, I'm happy to do it because, if we're going to talk about, being a good team, being a great team, being a legacy team, and I know Florida, again, they're the standard right now. I feel as if, I know their farm team is probably in the Final Four too, if I'm correct. They definitely are, I think. I'm not sure how much of their farm team talent actually has been a part of what they've done over the last 3 years. I think that's more of like a Tampa Bay Lightning thing. But they were the those guys not too long ago, right? The other team in Florida that made 3 straight finals. But all in all, having a Canucks just have good D. Okay, like that's what I'm relying on. Good defense and good developing, and it's a pretty significant thing. If Abbotsford is legit and they're fostering that type of environment where they're raising the floor, that's not just good news for the NHL club. I think that's actually great news.
100%, man. And again, the Canucks have done a great job of building up this pipeline here. And Kyle, I kind of want to phrase it to you this way as I think about the remaining teams in the Calder Cup playoffs, and I look through some of the past winners in the Calder Cup playoffs in terms of who has gone up to their NHL teams in following seasons and provided an impact. And you look at the Hershey Bears a couple of years ago with, the Washington Capitals affiliate, Alexei Protas, one of the most prolific even strength point producers in the league this season. Connor McMichael as well. They're up with Washington making an impact. Carolina's farm team won a couple seasons ago with Jalen Chatfield, Jack Drury, Peter Kochetkov on the roster. They're in the NHL as well now. Which 2 or 3 Canucks from this team do you see having the biggest NHL impact, or any NHL impact with the Canucks here in a season or two?
Damn, can I say DPD, or is that like an obsolete answer?
No, you can't say DPD because he's not on the team. It's got to be.
I think it's so fascinating how, like, again, not to bring Grants up again, but he's hearing that like he's untouchable.
Yeah.
Anyways, to answer your question, I honestly think it's Aatu Ratu and Max Sasson. And that's not a slide on Jonathan Lecker-Mackey, or Karatsev, Kirill Karatsev, or Archer Shilovs, or whatever, all these Mancini, blah blah blah. Because again, I think I put Mancini in the same boat as DPD. Okay, so I don't want to bring him up, but I'm a big fan of Max Sasson. I thought he played really good in almost every game that he played in last year with the Vancouver Canucks. And I just feel as if the team success might have, or the lack of it, might have overshadowed how good he actually was, right? There's no time for moral victories and whatnot, and like, nothing was good, and if it was good, it's because like, oh, Max Sasson only played well because he stood out amongst the players that like were doing nothing, and it's easy to stand out when it's this gloom, blah, blah, blah. No, like Max Sasson was a good player. Like, I feel like it was a net positive. I don't know what his fancy stats are saying, but I just feel like Sasson was a net positive, okay? For real. He has potential to me. And then the whole Aatu Ratu thing, and we saw it in the second half of the season. The guy's legit, and I have a huge amount of respect for guys like Ratu, who, again, look at the history. Highly touted. Boom, bam. Should have been the number 1 overall pick, but 12 months later, he gets to the second round. Boom, bam. What happens next? He gets traded. The team that drafts him gives up on him. So in a short amount of time, Aatu Ratu is deemed untouchable, and then boom, like he's just kind of like falling out of favor. And what has he done? He's gotten better. He's gotten better under 2 coaches. And then he's also gotten better in his time as an AHL call-up. Like, and keep in mind, like, he was really good in the preseason last year. Mm-hmm. Gets sent down later, blah, blah, blah. But when he gets called up for the second time, like, he's good again. And I'm like, I like that. He's taking it seriously. Like, this not him getting lucky. This is him understanding, like, there's a process to this, and he's adapting, he's putting the work in. And I'm excited for this guy to have another strong summer because, I mean, it's too early to say he could be an X factor next year. I think that's more of a thing 2 years from now because he's still got to play a full season. But, I mean, could we be seeing like Aatu Ratu next season picking up, like, doing not Pius Suter things because Suter scored 25 goals, but how about Suter from a couple of years ago? Maybe.
Yeah, I think those are interesting choices, Kyle. I mean, I think I'm glad to give Max Sasson his flowers because watching these games, like he's probably been one of the best Abbotsford Canucks. And see Callum send you in the comments, boom, bam, saying, why aren't we giving Sammy Blades his flowers? And of course, Sammy Blades leading the team in points right now. But again, for me, I'm thinking about who is going to be making an impact for the Canucks in the next year or two. And I will shout out 2 guys here who are different from what you said. I do think one is Archer Shilovs. I mean, just the number of times where he has been clutch in these big moments. For the both Vancouver Canucks, the Abbotsford Canucks, like he's going to be an NHL in my opinion. I completely agree. And whether the Canucks should trade him or not is a fascinating conversation because they need the offensive help, but you're taking a big risk on giving up on a guy like Archer Shilovs. But I think he's a guy who's either going to help the Canucks or another team in the near future. Another one, oh man, a debate between a couple options. I really love what Mancini's doing. I do think Lecker-Mackey and Aatu Ratu are NHLers in the near future. But man, oh man, I watched Linus Karlsson's game, and I do want to put the foot speed a bit, but I just really think he could be that net front guy to go bury some goals. And I was really surprised to see the NHL level this season. I know he's a bit older at 25 years old, but I actually think he could be an NHLer next season, a full-time NHLer, which I did not think a year ago.
Damn. You know why I don't see that happening? Like, I wonder if he just gets like he replaces Neil Zaman. Because I wonder, we just talked about the speed and whatnot, like having Ratu, I guess Joshua does have some speed, but the bottom six, like if Ratu and Carlson are part of the bottom six of an NHL team, I just think that's a little too slow. Like 1/3 of like the bottom six just lacking like that attack mode mentality. That's just me. But maybe Carlson turns into Neil Zaman. I don't know. Neil Zaman was a really proficient scorer in the AHL too, but you saw what he did, and I got to see more, man. I'm a foot speed guy. Again, Carlson played. Let's not forget, okay? Or maybe we gotta slap, not slap Rick Tocchet across the face. That's a bit aggressive language, but I'm just saying there was a time where Carlson, like to me, actually looked like what Trevor's alluding to right now, like legitimate. Like he looked like, yo, this guy could play like a significant role in an NHL team. And like you saw what he did with Höglander and Pettersson for a couple games, and it looked fire. It looked good. And the stats were looking nice. The fancy stats were looking nice. The eye test was like, yo, this is a big guy to play against. It's a hard guy to play against. But what did Rick Tocchet do, man? They split him up.
Yeah,
split him up
pretty quick.
After he scored
a little trigger happy there, Rick.
Yeah, which wasn't good enough. All in all, though, like we'll see what happens, man. Carlson, Sasan, Ratu, all this stuff, like it's raising the floor, and the more and more we talk out loud about it, it's like, okay, P. Suter's probably gone for sure. No, real talk.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think that we talked about it before. It's been a little while, but between like Besser, Forbort, Suter, I did think that Suter was the most likely to come back, but I think in all likelihood, all three are gone from the Vancouver Canucks. But in terms of Linus Karlsson, I think last comment I'll make there is you mentioned Neil Zaman. I do think Karlsson's better in board battles, and he's better with the puck on his stick than Neil Zaman is. So I mean, I think he's got a higher floor than Neil Zaman. Again, we're not talking about a star here, but I think he can be an impact NHLer as soon as next season. One or two more comments. We got Callum Sadu. Could Sammy Blaze be our goon next season? Sammy Blaze really struggled in the NHL last time he was up, and he's been great in the AHL, but I just don't know if what we saw this season is enough to say this guy's going to be a full-time NHL goon next season. He wasn't really even a goon when he was in the NHL. And last comment I'll make is Dan Jardine saying Sasan has good wheels and we have a need for speed. Mm-hmm. So maybe that does give Sasan a leg up over some guys like Carlson and Ratu as well.
And again, not to look too much into it, because what's the saying? You're grasping at straws here, buddy. Go look at the film. Max Sasan against the Florida Panthers back in December.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, December 10th, 2024.
I put out a highlight tip. Like, that was crazy, dude. He was playing so good in that game. And I don't know if it was just the adrenaline of being called up. I actually think this guy has a decent floor. Like, he could be as good as Teddy Bluger, if not better, under the right circumstances. So, yeah, shout out to Sasan, shout out to Malhotra, and go Abbotsford, go, man. We did it, man. I'm open to it now, Trevor. I'm open to talking about the Abbotsford Canucks.
There we go, man. Well, we're going to be talking more about it because they're about to kick off a 7-game series tonight, beginning in Abbotsford. Speaking of Abbotsford, I'm recording to you live from Abbotsford, and wherever you're listening from, we appreciate the hell out of you for tuning in. If you like what we're doing, go subscribe and like on YouTube. On the podcast side, go follow us and leave a 5-star review. But for now, we got to get out of here. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Kyle Bowen, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.
Peace, peace, peace.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.